Tonight on SportsBuzz, we visit important topics on the NFL, interesting points brought up by players in the National Basketball Association, and we can't forget about college football, as well as the top plays and not top plays of the week. All this and more on SportsBuzz. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SportsBuzz. Alongside my co-host Gino Ganello, I'm Justin DeVellis. Want to welcome you to the program. We had a huge week of action, Gino.
Yeah, that we did, Justin. We begin the show with some NFL, where the offenses came out to play as 3 teams scored over 40 points this week, while 5 more scored over 30. Get things started off down in the Music City, where the Titans welcomed the Bengals to Nissan Stadium in an attempt to carry their win streak to 4. While Cincy looked to bounce back after Week 9 loss. We pick things up here first quarter. DeMarco Murray rushes up the middle there, gets the Titans up 7. Then on the ensuing drive, the Bengals would get the points back on the board. Dandy Dalton over the middle down the seam to Brandon LaFell, and the Bengals would tie this one up. Actually, they missed the PAT. It would be 7-6. Then the Bengals again here, Titans up 14-6 after another Murray touchdown. Joe Mixon up the middle. They'd get it to 14-13. Then 17-13 here now late in the fourth quarter. A.J. Green gets the ball over the middle, breaks a couple tackles, and he's gone all the way 70 yards to the end zone. Bengals would take the lead. We'll take another look at that one right there. Unbelievable play by Green, and the Bengals would go up 20-17, but the Titans wouldn't give up. Mariota stepping up in the pocket, over left to Murray, fights for every inch, and he's going to need it as he just gets there in time. Titans would take this one 24-20. Mariota helping up someone there. The Titans winning their 4th in a row. DeMarco Murray registered 3 touchdowns on the day, which is more than he did in the first 8 games of the season combined.
Let's head over to FedEx Field for the Redskins-Vikings. First quarter, Kirk Cousins going up top, finds Maurice Harris. It was ruled incomplete, later called a touchdown. It's 7-0 Redskins. Vikings coming back here. It's 17-14 Redskins. Case Keenum finds Adam Thielen for the 7-yard touchdown. Celebration afterwards. Start of the third quarter, it's 28-17 Vikings. Keenum going to scramble and going to go up top to Thielen. Good. Vikings in the red zone. That sets up this. Yeah, Keenum's pumped. That's going to set up this. Screen pass. Jarius Wright. He's into the end zone for the score. And it's 35-17 Vikings. Start of the fourth quarter, Redskins. Cousins on the keeper. He's going to be in from 2 yards out. It's 35-27 Vikings. Redskins are going to get a chance at a field goal here. Nick Rose with the 56-yarder, good. They try to go onside. Only down 1 possession, Rose, but he kicks it out of bounds. And that would be it. The Vikings would win this one 38-30. Case Keenum throwing a touchdown to 4 different Viking receivers. And the Vikings move to 7-2.
From the NFC over to the AFC, 2 teams having opposite seasons, and the Broncos and Patriots faced off on Sunday night in what always seems to be a great matchup between some of the best offensive and defensive players in the game. Get things started here, and special teams will be the story in this one. A muff punt there on just on the actual first possession for the Broncos. The Patriots would recover. Then on the ensuing drive, Tom Brady over the middle, Rex Burkhead, and he'd find the end zone. Patriots take a 7-0 lead. Later in the first quarter now, the Broncos would be kicking off. Dion Lewis would receive in the end zone. He'd take it out instead of taking a knee, and that would prove to be good for the Patriots as he'd go the distance. Breaking a couple tackles, almost gets shoved out right here, but would find the end zone, putting the Pats up 14-3. Then another special teams error. Blocked punt by Rex Burkhead, who's been all over the place lately for the Patriots. Brad McManus would recover, but the Patriots would take over on the 30-yard line for the Broncos. Now 27-9. Broncos' only touchdown of the game would be Demaryius Thomas over the middle from Brock Osweiler. The game would end 41-16 in favor of the Patriots, absolutely dominating this one. And Tom, as always, Tom Brady was primed He completed 73.5% of his throws for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. Patriots travel to Oakland next week.
Let's head on over to Lucas Oil Stadium, where Ben Roethlisberger tried to go up top in the first drive of the game. Pierre Desir with his first career interception. Start of the second quarter, Jacoby Brissett is going to find Dante Moncrief for a 60-yard score. The Colts were balling. They're up 7-0. Start of the third quarter, Colts up 10-3. Brissett again. He's going to find Chester Rogers. The Steelers can't bring him down, and it'll be 17-3 Colts. Wacky little dance there. Start of the fourth quarter, Brissett's going to drop back. Pass is tipped and intercepted by Ryan Shazier, the third of the season. Leading to this, Roethlisberger finds Vance McDonald wide open in the end zone. It's 17-15. Steelers have to go for 2. Roethlisberger is going to hook up with Martavis Bryant. Score is tied. This was with time expiring. Chris Boswell hits the game-winning 33-yard field goal, and the Steelers would take this one 20-17. Jacoby Brissett was in concussion protocol after the game from a hit he took in the third quarter. And the Steelers will play the Titans on Thursday Night Football, and the Colts will have a bye.
And we've had exciting games this week, and with that, we bring in our NFL analyst, Dr. Will Meyer. Will, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Good to be with you boys.
Awesome.
It's great to have you here, Will. We got a couple questions here.
Sure.
Talking NFL. First of all, to start off, Ezekiel Elliott.
Yep.
With his suspension, how do you think that mentally he's affected?
You know, actually, I think at this point it's probably the best thing for him to accept this. Every week, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? It's probably harder on him mentally that way. I was told he's going to be leaving the country to basically rejuvenate himself and train away, so he's not impacted by everything around him. And I think that'll actually get him fresher and be mentally sharper when he returns.
Yeah, it'll definitely staying away from the distractions, especially around the Cowboys facility. It'll definitely be good for him. Now, he did withdraw his appeal this past week to allow him or to enforce the 6-game penalty for sure. How does that affect him in the eyes of the fans, if at all?
Oh, I don't think it matters. At this point, if you ask the average fan what he was suspended for in the first place, they don't even know. This has been going on so long about legal battles and the players' union versus the commissioner's power, which is ultimately what this turned into, that frankly the average fan just does, because a lot of the fans also are interested in fantasy football, and so people don't even actually pay attention anymore what it was that got him suspended. So in this world, he was probably had a negative viewpoint of him before that even dropping of the appeal. So.
How do you think the Cowboys will be affected moving forward this season?
Well, obviously it's a huge loss. I mean, he is probably their best weapon besides their quarterback, and they're 5-4 right now. They're going to have to stay afloat. They have some games they can win. Their next one's going to be the one that decides whether they can stay in the division race because they play the Eagles. Assuming they lose that, then they're looking at the wild card. But they have some games against the Chargers, the Raiders, the Giants. They're winnable games. If they can stay afloat, when they play the Seahawks on Christmas Eve, here you have a fresh running back who's probably going to be angry and run hard, and they could probably stay in this, but they got to stay afloat up until then.
Now, do you predict the Cowboys securing that wild card spot and maybe going into the playoffs without Ezekiel?
No, I mean, at that point, it would be he would be coming back before the playoffs. So they would have to, as I said, they'd have to stay afloat. I'm not sure they can do. They're a game back of the wild card right now, so they can do it. I'm not sure I would predict it, but they're going to be there right at the end. They're a good enough team without him. They do have some capable running.
Now transitioning a little bit from players that have had off-the-field issues and are suspended to players that have had injuries. It's been a big injury year for big stars.
Yeah.
What would some advice be that you would give to players recovering from injuries, for their mental state coming back from an injury and going through the recovery?
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. We've lost a lot of key players that has really impacted the game. J.J. Watts, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, these are major stars for us. A guy like J.J. Watt's pretty interesting because he's been injured before. And so for him, he relies on what he's done before. It's depressing at first, but he relies on what he's done to kind of recover. The thing about a professional athlete, their mindset is, I want to get back as quickly as possible, okay? But they also have the facilities, the training staff, the doctors. They've got everything at their disposal. So they need to use all of that to get back. Their mindset needs to be, don't rush it though, and do the rehab the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then specifically with the star players, what kind of pressure do you think these guys are facing in terms of getting back to full strength from their teams, from the fans on a daily basis and a weekly basis?
Yeah, I think it's really for their teams. The fans, I mean, we all like to think we're important, but they're not listening to us, okay? I think one of the things that's different in today's NFL than in the past is the doctors really have a huge say in when people come back. It didn't used to be that way. It used to kind of be, you know, oh, I kind of feel okay, I'm going to, you know, try, and people would rush back, particularly with the concussions. And we've had some controversy in the last couple weeks with the Seahawks and the Colts having their quarterbacks basically put in a concussion protocol but not actually doing it the right way. The doctors are going to keep them out as long as they can. The players are always going to want to come back, so you can never leave the decision up to the player. You've got to have the doctors and then the coaching staff decide first.
So you touched on players rushing back to get back to play and be with their team.
Yep.
Can you elaborate a little more on, you know, if you've been seeing that happening more in the past and if it's detrimental to the game?
It depends on the injury and it depends on the player, okay? Some players are rushing back because they're not secure in their position on their team and their livelihood is on the line and they might not be as honest about their injury. Other players are, maybe they're secure, but maybe they're an Aaron Rodgers, and we have seen that the Packers aren't going anywhere without him. And if it comes down to, you know, are they still in the race and he's sort of healthy, can he play? He might be back a little earlier than not. On the other hand, the Colts shut down Andrew Luck when they thought they were going to bring him back. I don't think that players have been rushing back anymore because of all of the precautions around, but it does somewhat go back to the honesty of the player in the first place and where their security is on being able to, you know, make sure that they're back on the team and being able to play.
Well, some really interesting stuff there. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Will Mayer here. Coming up after the break, Kyrie had some interesting comments on wearing the face mask. And you're going to want to stick around for this because we have the top 5 and not top 5 of the week. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sports Buzz is brought to you by Vitamin Shop. With over 300 locations nationwide, shopping has never been easier. Use a convenience store locator or shop online at vitaminshop.com.
Welcome back to Sports Buzz. We talked a little NFL today. Now it's time to get into the NBA. And Justin, you know, we'll get right into it. Eastern Conference, it's kind of congested. Cavs aren't doing as well as many people expected. Who are your teams in the Eastern Conference right now that are performing really well?
Well, like you said, it's congested and still early on in the season. But I think the biggest surprise of the Eastern Conference has got to be the Celtics, especially how they've reeled off so many, you know, 12, 13 straight games without a player like Gordon Hayward. And I think a big reason is because of defense. The Celtics have been great on the defensive end. And the Cavaliers, I think, been plagued by injury. I'd like to see when Isaiah Thomas comes back how that shakes up the top 10 for the East. But another surprise team I'd like to talk about is the Pistons. I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to be this good, but a guy like Andre Drummond rebounding the ball. They have the 6th best defense in the league, and it's only been getting better. So I think it's still very early, but I think the East is very competitive, and there's a lot of different superstars there that make it for, you know, an interesting rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And both teams that I've been looking at, too, we'll take a look at the Eastern Conference standings right here. Got the Celtics and Pistons up at the top, 2 teams, like you said. And then some interesting teams up there. You got the Raptors at 4, Wizards at 3, but the Knicks all the way up there at 5. And that's a team I want to talk about, a team I want to point out a little bit. Because the Knicks, coming off of trading Melo, you know, everybody kind of thought they'd be discombobulated offering Tim Hardaway as much money as they did. But they rank in the top in the top 15 of the NBA, top half of the NBA in every category. And Porzingis is averaging 28.9 a game. They've been exceptional in so many different ways that we didn't expect them to be. And their rookie Frank Ntilikina has been really big for them. He's been stepping up in a big way. It's been really key for them here in this past 10 games or so, which they've gone on a bit of a run. And then again, the Pistons, like you mentioned, Andre Drummond, he's got almost 15 rebounds. He's got over 15 rebounds a game. Their defense is playing really well, and that's the name of the game. Sometimes the defense is the most important part, and that's what we've been seeing here in the Eastern Conference. We take a look at a video of Kyrie Irving talking about face masks, and we'll take a look at it right here.
What are the challenges that come with that?
Just trying to get your peripheral vision just to stay the same. Understand that you got a piece of plastic on your face. That's about it.
Does it help at all that you've had to go through the mask before?
Yeah, it does. It's I hate wearing it, but somehow it's caused a craze on Instagram as well as social media. Just the mask man. But I understand that it's just for my safety. So, throwing a mask for a few weeks and go about my business. So.
Can you imagine playing with that face mask? I mean, at one point he said that the holes weren't even big enough. He couldn't even see his other players. He couldn't even pass the ball to his other players. So what do you think having to play with a mask like that, how you would fare? I mean,
I feel like it, like you said, it affects your peripheral vision a little bit. You can't really see the players. Typically a player like Kyrie who's able to make those no-look passes is not able to do that now, which is definitely hurting him in some aspects of the game, but he really has been showing it. He's been playing really well. Still dropping as many points as he was before, playing exceptionally well, so definitely big for him. But transitioning from the Eastern Conference, the Celtics who have been up there have been great. We'll transition now to the Western Conference and take a look at some of the Western Conference teams. Justin, who do you have coming out there? Who do you have as your surprise teams?
So for the Western Conference, we all know the Golden State Warriors. They're up there every year, and they're just loaded with talent, and there's a reason why they blow out teams every night. I think a team like the Rockets are also very interesting. But I want to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Right now in the standings, I mean, they're up there. They're in the top 5, and they're an interesting team to me because of their roster. They have, players like Jimmy Butler. I mean, you see it right now, 3rd in the Western Conference, and I think that they've taken and needed some time to gel as a team. But when Jimmy Butler and a guy like Taj Gibson, they hook up again on the Timberwolves, they played together in Chicago, I think it makes for an interesting dynamic, and I want to see how they do moving forward, especially when they have superstars like Karl Anthony Towns and Jeff Teague and how they play. So they're kind of my surprise team in the Western Conference right now.
And now with the Western Conference, who would you say your top teams are? Now your surprise teams, the guys that are going to come out of there on top and play for that Western Conference final.
So top teams, definitely the Golden State Warriors. I mean, they are on pace right now, even though it's early. They're on pace to have one of the, a record-setting offense, a record that they themselves set last year. I mean, they're the most efficient offense. They have guys who, Stephen Curry. I mean, they average, 20 points, and they have 4 guys averaging over 15. And a big reason for that is Steve Kerr. I mean, they're a cohesive group, and they've been playing defense so well. I want to talk about the Warriors, and even another surprise team is the Rockets. I really like how Mike D'Antoni has set up that roster, and it's a starting 5 that they're together this year, but they've also been together, last year, years prior. So they have the 2nd most efficient offense, I think, the Houston Rockets. So they're my 2nd-ranked team, and I think they can really challenge the Warriors, especially when Chris Paul comes back. I think he's going to have to find a way to really gel, and that's going to be an interesting story going forward, is how Chris Paul fits into that already dynamic Houston Rockets offense. But like we said earlier, the Warriors are definitely up there, and I would not see why they wouldn't go to the finals again with the way they're playing.
No, yeah, absolutely. They've been, they're the best team in the NBA by far, I think. They've been exceptional this season. Again, in a season where we've had a lot of surprises, a lot of different movement. But transitioning back to the Eastern Conference, we talked about them already, so we'll just hit on it real quick here. The Celtics and Pistons up at the top. They're 2 teams that definitely could find themselves in that Eastern Conference final now that the Cavaliers aren't playing as well. Cavaliers are a little older, so they could find themselves there. But, and both of them are playing great defense. Just to get it right, the defense for the Celtics is ranked first overall, only giving up 100-plus points in 2 of their last 13 games. So they've been exceptional. And the Pistons, of course, they've been a real surprise because we knew they had Andre Drummond. We didn't know how many of those other players were going to pan out. So they've been exceptional.
And Brad Stevens, too, like you talk about. I mean, Brad Stevens, great coach for the Celtics, and I think he's a big reason why that group has been able to come together, even in the absence of Gordon Hayward.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's a big factor. The reason the Celtics are so surprising is because of the Gordon Hayward injury. And so the fact that they've been able to recover from that, getting big numbers from Jaylen Brown and a couple of their other guys, a couple of their typical bench players is
Semi
huge.
Ojeleye has been huge.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's definitely been big for them, and those are 2 teams that we could definitely see coming out of the Eastern Conference there. But we're going to have to take a quick break here. Coming up after the break, we have our college football analyst, Adam Chambers, coming in to talk about a little about the college football playoff system and how it's shaping up right now. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Sports Buzz. We're going to keep the show rolling here with the hot topic everyone wants to talk about, college football. We have our college football analyst in the studio. Gino, over to you.
Thanks, Justin. And joining me now, college football analyst, like Justin said, Adam Chambers. Adam, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, and it's great to talk about one of the hottest topics, like Justin said, of the sports world right now, college football. It's getting to the end of that season. So many players have played well week in and week out, but if you had to choose 3, we'll start with number 3. If you had to choose 3, who would they be?
If this was at a different point in the season, I'd have a different 3. But as of right now, I'd say going from 3 down to 1, I'd say Khalil Tate. And I'd go Bryce Love and then Baker Mayfield. Khalil Tate has been really redefining what it means to be a running quarterback in college football. Under the right offense in the NFL, I'd draft him today. But as of right now, he's killing it in the college game. And then with Bryce Love, he's probably the fastest running back in college football right now. Baker Mayfield, I jumped on the bandwagon the second they beat Ohio State. So.
Now, you mentioned Khalil Tate, and Khalil Tate's been more of a running quarterback. Do you feel like he'll transition well as a quarterback into the NFL, or do you feel like he may have to make a position move to make it in the NFL?
I do think he'll make it as a quarterback in the NFL. I think the right team is going to have to draft him because he can't play in a traditional offense. He'd have to play in an offense where a lot of quarterback runs, a lot of fake handoffs, a lot of bootlegs. So I think he'll get drafted by the right team, and he'll make it as a quarterback in the NFL.
And then moving to Baker Mayfield and Bryce Love, you mentioned both of them. They're both fantastic players. You see them as top 5 picks in the NFL in the draft when they come out, or do you feel like they fit more into those mid first round spots?
It depends, but I do think Baker Mayfield will go first overall. Hopefully the Browns trade that pick so he has a chance to succeed somewhere.
Well, we'll see how that plays out for them. It'll definitely be interesting. Baker Mayfield's been exceptional. And we're going to take a look at some of his highlights right here. I have to hate Baker Mayfield because I'm a Texas fan. But he's been exceptional, and you can't deny what he's doing out there on the field week in and week out. Now, you mentioned 3 guys. Are any of those 3 guys, all of those 3 guys, in your Heisman running too, or do you have another few players that you can see taking that award?
They're in the Heisman running and my Heisman running, and I do think Baker Mayfield's going to win the Heisman Trophy this year. He's had at least 2 touchdown passes in the past 23 games in a row, and then he's well on his way to tying the touchdown record for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Well, it's great been talking about the players, and Baker, like we said, Baker Mayfield has been fantastic, but we're going to transition a little bit now into teams. And the college football playoff rankings came out this past Tuesday. They came out with the top 25, and we have had some movement there because we had some losses, some big wins. How do you think the committee did this week?
I think they did well this week. I definitely agree with the top 10 this week. Alabama, Clemson, no surprise there. But I do think Miami will take that number 2 spot eventually. The U is back. They've regained their identity, and I think they're ready for a chance at the show this year.
So, you have Miami at 2. But Alabama and Clemson still in there. You think we get round 3 here in this championship?
I do think it's possible, but I certainly hope not. I think the college football world is ready to move on from Alabama, Clemson. Alabama will still take that #1 spot, though.
Interesting. Now, moving from, you said Alabama won, now moving from just the rankings to the playoffs. When the playoffs finally come around, that final ranking comes out, who do you got at the top?
Alabama, #1, Miami, #2.
Interesting stuff there. you want to just elaborate why you think Alabama has been one of the best teams this year? Has it been their run game? Has it been the pass game? Have they been more balanced overall? What has been the key to their game?
They have been more balanced overall. They've been throwing the ball more lately, but their running game is the reason why they are who they are. Without a running game, they're not the high-powered Alabama team that we always see every year.
All right, well, there you have it. Adam, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're going to have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We have your top 5 and not top 5 of the week coming up right after this. We'll be right back. Sports Buzz is brought to you by Berkshire Hathaway. Prudential Home and Sale is now Berkshire Hathaway. New name, new look, and same great company. Welcome back to Sports Buzz. We've seen a bunch of highlights today. We've talked a lot of sports, but now it's time for that moment, that top 5 and not top 5 of the week. So let's get right into those top 5 plays. Take a look at number 5 here. Jaguars running back. Oh, man.
The fake punt.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff there. Now the Detroit Lions taking on the Cleveland Browns, and
don't put the ball on the ground.
No surprise that the Browns are making a mistake there.
Ooh, he's going to go to the house. Little dance right there. Nice.
Now from the
wow,
the Giants 49ers, unbelievable catch there from Sterling
Shepard.
Shepard.
Mario Manningham? Dang. Russell Wilson, man, those jerseys. Oh. He threw that. He was in trouble, but he threw that. He didn't even look.
Yeah, and Doug Baldwin just sneaking in there. And then we've seen this play already today.
Oh.
Unbelievable catch there.
Harris. Ooh, show the replay. I don't think it got enough love, that play.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable play. We saw that one a little bit earlier. Now, we've seen the top 5, but we got to get to those not top 5, make a couple of people laugh here. So let's see those right now. So the Florida D-back intercepts it here, and he almost gets there, and then he fumbles it in the end zone.
Oh, boy.
And then here we go all the way back. A different play from that same game. 2 people go to catch that ball.
Does it count for 2 touchdowns? Classic Browns. Time runs out.
Typical Browns make a mistake. They made two mistakes. They even made it into the top 5 with a mistake.
Come on, Hugh.
And now here, just you hate to see that.
Got to keep your head on a swivel, man.
You definitely hate to see that. Well, that's all the time we have here on Sports Buzz. From all of us, I'm Gino Ganello.
And I'm Justin DeVellis. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.